Hey guys, welcome back. It's time to take a look at Reddit, but this time we're taking a look at something specific on Reddit, on r/poke investing. And this is a grading company employee who has made a post and is answering a couple questions in here. And this is giving me some ideas here. If you work at a grading company or worked at a grading company, you would like to prove it to me, you would like to use a voice changer, if you would like to come on the channel and discuss with me, just give us a little sneak peek into what's going on at the grading companies, then you are more than welcome to do so. Make sure you join my Discord. Make sure you send me a DM on Discord, and maybe even at me. You probably want to use like a burner account or something like that, so you don't get fired and or threatened by this grading company that you work for. But we got one here, a little bit anonymous. They have to be a little bit careful with saying where they work because they're currently working there. We're going to take a guess at where it is that they work. I want you guys to guess down in the comments as well. But it's a good little thread. Maybe I'm kind of debating whether we go through the entire thread here. A lot of the comments and questions that are being asked, maybe we do. I think we do. We go long haul. We're going long haul. All right, let's start off with their main post here. They're posting under the name Poke Throwaway, which is very awesome. They don't want to trace back to them. Like, it's funny because a lot of the criminals don't seem to understand that. Certain ones that like lady boys or femboys, I guess, that don't use burner accounts when they do something nefarious. I guess in this case they're just discussing their place of employment vaguely, which is shouldn't be against any rules or regulations. They're not really sharing anything that's proprietary, so I think it's fair game. All right, the first post, let's go. It says, I work for one of the big companies in grading. It's not all you make it out to be. Wow, it's like I've been telling you guys that all along. And I think maybe we need that internal, talk with somebody that works at the grading company. Again, if you want graded cards, if you want to collect graded cards, by all means do it. Do so in a careful way. Make sure that you're grading things that actually are going to retain some sort of value with the money that you're spending per graded card. If you're just buying the cards on the secondary market graded already and at the same price as what you would buy them outside of the case, yes, that is very, very possible. Then I guess there's less to be concerned about. But yeah, just know what you're getting yourself into. Know what the expectations are, and buy the card, not the grade. Do not buy it because of the grade. It's often graded incorrectly. We need to do some experiments with that as well. Stay tuned for that. Not sure when it'll be. Not sure what it'll be. But we need to do a little bit more digging in terms of that stuff. So, well, maybe we need to do a little bit of a little test of our own. I know that there's been people banned in the past for trying to fool the grading company, even if they don't have like malicious intents. To trick somebody with the graded card afterwards. A certain penis on a cat comes to mind, and some fake stamps and stuff like that. So, all right, I'm using a throwaway because I'd like to keep my job, and I can't talk much about much because we're all under some sort of NDA anyways. But I see a lot of misconceptions here and on subreddits about grading companies. Yeah, I think the biggest misconception is the fact that they tell you it's experts, and it's not experts. I guess expert, it can kind of be like an opinion-based thing. In their opinion, they're experts. I guess they could say professional because that's their profession if they're a grader. I think that's a little bit, there's more leeway within that. Most graders do mean well and are very honest about your grades, but like any big company, we are all beholden to investors prioritizing profit over actual quality. The outline for grading standards changes with the industry all the time, most of the time due to customer demand. If business is slow, grades become more relaxed. Another thing that happens in our industry that bothers me is that those higher up in the food chain get to personally grade their buddies' cards. Yeah, we've seen a little bit of that. We saw that with BGS when they the ex-employee of BGS was miraculously getting black labels up the butt, 10s and black labels all day, every day, which is it was beyond a coincidence. It was beyond anyone's ability to find the best condition cards. They were clearly just getting a little hand job favor by someone that still worked there at the time. We saw that with CGC. Shout out to Chum Lee getting his cards graded right in front of him. Yeah, I don't know why they always like to let on, the grading companies like to let on, like, hey, like, it's anonymous. They only see the number. They don't see whose cards they're grading, and then they do dumb stuff like that. So I don't know. We've seen it out it does not surprise me in any way. I think the only way to like remove this would be like the person that's working there would have to not be allowed to grade their own cards at that company, or purchase any cards that are graded by that company, which is weird because if you're working there, you would think that you would want that. Maybe they sell it as a perk kind of thing that you can get cheap submissions. I mean, there's not much other reason to work there. Apparently the wages are not very great. It's almost like someone was saying that all along, despite there being strict guidelines that should prevent you from doing so. Yuck. So I don't know. I want you guys to let me know down in the comment section, what grading company do you think this is? And I'll let you know my guess a little bit later on here. A lot of the employees handling your cards make it no more than a line cook or a shelf stalker. Weird. Almost like minimum wage. A lot of people are burnt out from the underpaid, repetitive labor and make mistakes. We have certainly seen that. And I mean, that's the thing. If you're doing that all day, every day, you're going to make mistakes. You're not spending very much time on any individual card. People like to believe that it's like this team of scientists that are rappelling down from the ceiling that are giving it the absolute, the most professional look over that's ever happened, but it's just not happening. I wouldn't hold this industry up to the standard of expert quality. That's just it too. I think anyone that should be considered an expert would not work there. They would not be paid, even if the pay was slightly better, even if the pay was doubled. I think anyone that's an actual expert would not be actually working there. That's my expert opinion. Mods, feel free to take this down if it's irrelevant, and I will post it somewhere where it is relevant, but I had to get this off my chest. All right, awesome. So we can go through here. Let's read some of the main comments. Flipmix says, I recently applied to be a grader at one of the larger high-volume grading services. The estimate that they gave of a typical grader gets about 1 minute or so to grade your card. Repeat this hundreds of times over the course of an 8-hour day. It's tough for me to wrap my mind around this, and I think it takes someone born to grade to make it. Born to grade is is anyone born to sit there? Does anyone want to do that? One card per minute. Even I don't think it's a whole minute. I'm calling BS on that. I'd say that maybe 30 seconds, unless maybe that minute counts the actual like encapsulation process or something like that. Or this is like the bare minimum where they don't slap you on the wrist as long as you're doing one per minute. And if you can do more than that, they're probably very happy that you are. As long as you don't mess up. Like anything, if you've ever had a job that has some sort of production that goes on, some sort of packing or anything warehouse related, anything factory related, they love it when you do stuff fast. As long as you don't make mistakes, they will come back and say like, "Hey, you made a mistake. You missed the dick on the Persian. What are you doing? Wake up. Go faster, but do it better." And that's the thing. They don't make money if you're paying too much attention to the cards. You just have to do it enough to make people believe that it's an unbiased expert opinion. That's it. You just gotta get it by. And everyone, even the people that do grade, that have been grading a long time, you'll notice when they go through their cards, they'll be like, "How did this get this? How did this happen?" The pre-grades don't match the actual grades, not even close, or stuff that will need to be cracked because it's not what it's supposed to be. It's part of the game, but also you got to take into consideration that those are all mistakes that are being made. It's likely that the person that graded all those cards knows more than the person that graded them. Not always the case, but Psychedelic Panda says, this is why I don't really see the value. A subjective opinion after 1 minute from a grader is not better than the due diligence that I can do myself. Very well put. Even if I only get to see pictures of a card, I can spend much more time meticulously researching my own subjective opinion of card quality. Yes, someone gets it. Good job, Psychedelic Panda 123. You're on the ball. You know what you're doing. Good shit. Clem82 says, this is one job I really want to see robotic and automated. Realtor says your grandkids will have regrades through slabs. Raspinoob says it's already started. They have AI grading already. So, man, I freaking hate the whole like, oh, it's AI grading. It's not AI grading. It's just a series of scans that they're doing at AGS. And AI is a pretty big stretch. I don't think there's anything actual AI involved in the process. It's scans. They're just doing scans. Maybe we need to make a video on some of that stuff, but I mean, it's marketing. It's marketing. It's all marketing. It's smoke being blown up your butthole. It's not AI. Chunkachu says AGS has AI, but the community as a whole won't recognize them because they are one of the big three. I have no problem with them as I grade for personal collection first, label/slab appearance second, and profit third. Yes, there are exceptions to this on some cards for me, but only because of how the community sees companies as a whole. Like I pulled a Moonbrown, and yes, I tried for a black label because I plan to flip and reinvest it into my collection. For the most part, I personally prefer cards from CGC and Ace at the moment and do plan to send to AGS, but these are all for personal collection. I mean, if they're for personal collection, I still think you can go buy your own slabs if you just really want. If you want thick plastic cases that take up a lot of space, and you know what, you just find a friend that's also knows anything about anything, get them to write write a little label for you, type it out. There's a reason why a lot of these companies popped up in the time frame that was the time frame where you couldn't submit to your PSA and get it back within a year. That's the thing. And even then, we're not good. This isn't like a PSA commercial. I still think they make a lot of mistakes. We've mentioned a couple times in the video here with how much care and attention they seem to take, where you have upside down cards, you have labels that are the wrong language, you have fake stamps that went through there, also AGS as well. So, I mean, it wasn't just PSA that had the fake stamps that they didn't notice. They were brutal. They were bad. If you had a minute to look at that, and you didn't notice the fake stamps on those bad boys that Arjun Dillon was stamping with his butthole, I don't know what to tell you. It shouldn't exist. Essentially, people too much faith in it. Too much faith in it, guys. All right, let's keep going. As said though, the community won't recognize them, and I really feel it comes down to that. So many people have so much money wrapped up into these companies. I mean, that's the thing too. I mean, look at the people recently with CGC that got absolutely shafted, where CGC's like, oh, congratulations, guys. You only have to pay $5 per card. What's that? You have 1,000 cards in your collection? Well, that's awesome. Maybe we'll give you a discount. Reach out to us. I can't remember what the number was that they gave that you should reach out if you had like 5,000 cards or something. Even if it's 5,000 cards and it's $1 a piece. Let's say it's $1 a piece. They're charging you material cost, their cases, and the little bit of like, I don't know. I don't even know what their expense would be. The minimum wage employee that's gotta do one per minute to recase these bad boys and print the labels. The printer cost, I guess, the ink from the printer. So, that's how easy they can just shaft you for no reason. That or they do enough terrible stuff. I mean, they've all done terrible stuff where debatably it's going to affect and maybe that's why some people are a little bit don't want to talk about it. They have skin in the game. They don't want anyone to know that there's penis cats getting graded by PSA. What's that say about the rest of the cards that they paid a bunch of money to get graded? The fear of losing profits/investments if another company attempts to rise above and provide a better standard. So we'll hear how these three, PSA, BGS, CGC, but mainly two, PSA, BGS, are the best, but at the same time, how trash they are with their inconsistencies. They're all inconsistent, and AGSs as well. You're buying the marketing if you think that they're like some kind of super godsend. Their super AI system couldn't detect the fake stamps either, so it's not like they're any better off. It's a series of very basic scans that are being done in order to detect imperfections on the surface of something. It's no better or worse. Cody, Rudy, I believe BGS using AI grading now to some degree. Let's see it. Let's see it. And let's get some artificial intelligence experts to tell us whether it's actually AI or not. Scans do not mean AI. You can do as many surface scans as you want. It ain't AI. There's no actual learning or anything that's going on there. Vin Burden says, but AI can do in 10 seconds what a human could do in 10 minutes, so it will eventually become the standard. Doesn't matter how much people like it or not. Machines will not be subjective like humans. So when it's an actual process, I think maybe when it's perfected, again. Flowers919 says, this has already been proven false with AI. Humans program them. Researchers have found all kinds of biases in AI and search engines. I think the biggest thing with the AI stuff is the fact that they are telling you it's AI. It's not AI. They're overstating what they're actually doing. Yes, should it be done with a series of scans and an output be registered? Yes. Is it going to be more consistent? Yes. Is it there yet? Is it useful at this point in time? No, not really. Bimberden says, for subjective things and writing content, sure, but if you program it to come up with a score based on set criteria and train it on examples of what qualifies as each grade for each criteria, it will do it 1,000 times faster and more accurate than a human could. Well, I mean, that depends what it's looking for. If you're just eyeballing it in 30 seconds, can it do however many scans you want it to actually do in that amount of time? Maybe, probably not. And does it have eye appeal? Can it tell you what the eye appeal is? Is there a formula for that? Who knows? Whobody says, I think I'm with you. I have a small amount of PSA in my PC and just submitted to SGC for PC and resale to fund my hobby. There is also TAG, but these are small fish and they are all going against PSA, who has the market share. I do like slabs on my PC to encapsulate. Also, when I'm gone, I think it would give non-collectors an easier way to assess their value. I mean, you can also you could make spreadsheets to saying what everything is and adjust it and change it based on, every year you can go through and update the pricing. You don't want to do that. You just want it to be and then also if you're going with TAGs and WEAs, who the hell is going to be able to find a price on that shit? It's not. It's just going to be the value of the raw card. But the more I read into it, the less I want to slab, but I waffle because if I want to sell a slab, it makes sense on big cards. What? You're razzle-dazzling? Daz Bisto saying, I just like it for buying online. It's sort of an objective third party about card quality. Sellers can take crappy photos or try to hide blemishes, but if it has a PSA grade, you can at least roughly assume it's quality. I mean, sure. Or you could just buy from people that have good photos and that are reputable sellers. Sad Bite says, go through Beckett. What? Black Tapes PSA pissed me off with my last submission. I decided to try SGC this time. However, I do like Beckett, but it's mostly vintage cards, and I wanted to see how different companies are. I mean, that's the thing. You're going to test different companies, or anyone that's like, this is going to be the next non-temporary grading company. They're going to catch up someday. You're not only are you, if you're doing it for investment purposes, if you're doing it for monetary reasons, not only are you then betting on the fact that the card is going to appreciate in value, but you're also betting on the fact that the company is going to be successful. So you're adding a lot of extras there that you don't necessarily need to. I don't know, would let the company prove what it's going to do first, and then maybe hedge your bets. I don't know why you wouldn't just kind of say, it's not like if the company's successful and they're going to exist later on, it's not like you can't submit your card to them at that point in time, right? Human Love says, it's not a subjective opinion though. They are being trained on exactly what to look for and being kept updating with the changing times. You having to do that when there is a person specifically dedicated to do that and keep the rest informed is a big difference. Guys, please, for the love of God, this is a perfect example of someone putting way too much faith in a minimum wage employee that is doing this all day. 8 hours. Maybe if there's a backlog, they're doing it for more than 8 hours. I don't know if there's an actual cutoff for any of these companies. But again, if you work at any of these companies and you'd like to reach out, be an anonymous guest on the channel here, by all means, it'd be cool. We could get maybe we can get one from each grading company, Again, you'll have to prove it to me. I'm not going to show who you are, but you'll have to prove to me that that you do work there, or you did work there, some kind of record of that, so that we know that we're making a reliable video. I'm fairly certain this person actually works at one of the grading companies, but some proof would be awesome. Whether they want to reach out or anyone else that would like to, we'll get you set up. We'll have you on video, but like in a dark room, and we'll have the voice masking so that they can't tell who you are, like little incognito mode. All right, that's not to say your own due diligence is not good. Just saying it's their job to be experts. They have more time, hands, and resources being split up between hundreds of people. Just because it's their job. The thing that people don't realize is, and I try to say it all the time, anyone that's an expert would not take this job. They would be crazy to take this job. Their time is worth far more than what they're getting paid doing this. Just keep that in mind. There is no way. Even on the lower levels, there's no way someone's going to waste 8 hours of their day for this little pay if they're an expert. They could be making money doing a billion different things. There's tons of ways that you can make content. You could make purchases. You can open a shop if you know the market, if you know the value of this stuff, if you know condition. There's way better ways to make money than to go in there for 8 hours. It doesn't make any sense. I would love to meet the person that's like, yeah, you know what? I'm an actual expert. I know all of this, but I just love putting cards in plastic. I do it for the community. Is that what we're gonna get to? I do agree though that 1 min per card, 60 times 7, assuming you get your break, and 420 cards a day is 2,100 cards a week, is really scuffed. You can be an excellent grader, but anyone can make mistakes with that kind of repetitiveness, which is why ops are saying. Psychedelic Panda is back and saying, I'm not saying they aren't experts in their field or don't do a good job. I'm saying they're not experts in their field. I mean, I guess if you're comparing them to other graders from other companies, no, they're not experts. They're not experts. I'm not buying it. I don't think there are any experts that are in there making line cook wages that are experts. If so, they are highly undervaluing their own time and knowledge. But if I have to buy the card, not the grade, to determine if one single deep scratch or a few hairline scratches are more meaningful to me, or if I care more about the back whitening or centering, at that point, what value does grading have? I have to formulate my own subjective opinion on how I value the condition of the card anyway. Human Love says, grading is a professional condition of an item. It has nothing to do with how meaningful you think something is to you. After something is graded, you can determine whether you want to buy something at a specific time because of how meaningful it is to you. What? Sure, but there's a difference in 2 nines of a card. One might have off centering, while another has a few scratches on foiling. So this is the whole subjective thing, different types of damage. And the lower you go in that grading scale, the less likely it is to get that same grade again, because it becomes even more subjective. The farther it gets away from being a perfect card, I guess, until it gets to the extent that it's automatically going to get a 1 because you folded it into a paper airplane. That's about it. Both are 9s, but they are not fungible. You have to make an opinion on that. My argument is, if you have to look at card condition anyway, why bother with grading? Panda, oh my God, you're reading my mind, Panda. In the morning, Nights says, I mean, like with many things, the value is fabricated and it's propped up by more and more people buying into that. I mean, we kind of saw that. People just want to jump on the grade train. I think the primest, most perfect example of this is 2021, the junk slab creation era. We're seeing those floating around now. Just a ton of stuff that shouldn't have been graded that ended up being graded because there was this huge misconception that you can grade anything and it'll be worth money. And I mean, a lot of it was temporarily, just because there was so much demand with people coming in that it's not their own fault. There's a lack of experience and a lack of awareness of what the market was like before that, where you can't just grade anything and have it be worth more money. I have perfect examples of that. My binders are filled with labels from cards that I cracked because they were around the same price as the raw card. Someone spent money to grade all those. I undid what they did because it was the same price. Certain cards, there's a lot of them that are graded because people graded them no matter what because they thought there was value in it. First edition base being largely that way. I mean, at one point it was mostly if you're not grading for a 10 or first ed base or that kind of stuff, then you were wasting money. You're not wrong. If there was a strict set of guidelines shared, then an individual would absolutely be able to do a more thorough job based on those, but then it would have the official seal and official mark that people have determined adds value. If I had a card that was in always better and more deserving of a 10, but it gets a 9, then people will still pay for it and value it based on what the big number says. So there's that. That, and also just like if people have any reason to pay less for something or offer less for something, they're going to. Typically, I mean, there's the odd exception where someone just wants something and pays whatever you want, whatever number you throw at them. But also, we have more coming up from the original poster here. Don't worry about that. There's a few more posts in here from them that we will take a look at. And in reality, you probably see one banger out of every 80 submissions. Yeah, so like, I mean, no, it's going to be redundant at some point in time. Probably grading a bunch of the same card over and over and over again. All right, Flowers saying which company? I'll assume PSA, but I'd like to know for sure. Krug Nugget says, wow, not only did they take all the fun away from grading, but your cards are worse off for it too, probably. That's where you're seeing damage and stuff like that too. If you got somebody that's doing this all day, even if they were an expert, handling that many cards all day, you're going to make mistakes. Even if you took, let's take the perfect scenario, someone that knows more than anyone else about all of this stuff. This person studied Pokemon. They were in Pokemon since 1999 when it came out. They own every card. They've seen every card. They've graded and they've purchased graded cards. They've cracked things. They know it in and out. If they're in there for 8 hours or more and they're grading a card per minute, they are still going to make mistakes. So when you take out that expertise, no, they're not experts. Again, we'll call them professionals, and even that's a stretch because it's probably a very temporary job. I don't think many people are necessarily going to plan on grading, sitting there 8 hours a day for the rest of their life. If they are, I feel for them because that would be pain. All right, cute ad saying, if you were someone who was really into seeing all sorts of cards, I could imagine that you'd be interested in it, but even then, after a while, you'd see everything. I mean, yeah, you're gonna get bored of looking at cards. I mean, even collectors, you gotta switch it up. You gotta do different stuff within Pokemon. Take breaks, do something else. You gotta switch it up to keep it fresh. But your eyes would be. I don't know if this is those eyes though. With the triple flame, your eyes on fire, looking at cards. Professional Mix 2537 says, oh, we know. Poke It Throwaway is back here in the thread, says, glad we agree. Ping Proxy says, do you have any rules/requirements about not giving high grades to expensive cards? Sometimes it feels like $100 cards will much more likely get grade 10 rather than $1,000 cards. I mean, this is where like confirmation bias kind of comes in. Although you can definitely see trends. Like if it's a certain grader that's doing your entire submission, sometimes you get it back and it's all the same number because they're probably just pressing the button. I've learned that recently, that there's just a button that they press for the grades, I think at most of the grading companies. So if they're getting lazy, if they're just trying to get their workload done so they can go to the bathroom and look at their phone, maybe they're just hitting 8-5 over and over again. Then they're going to take a sweet dump because they got their quota done for the next hour and a half. Arceus says, well, I definitely agree with the sentiment and feeling of it. I feel ultimately that comes down to rarity. We think high value cards have lower chances when it actually is just the sheer volume of cheaper cards versus expensive ones. I mean, you can look at the pump report and you can see kind of like the distribution. You can graph it all out if you wanted to. And then the pop report is pretty meaningless too because there's a lot of the lower grades that are cracked to be resubmitted, or sometimes by people like me that just want to put them in their binder. And to mention, a textured alt art is more likely going to be on average less high quality than a regular V due to more going into the card, and English having poor QC. But look at Moonbreon, for example. It has a 83% PSA 10 rate, so it seems that it's card to card, not value to value. I don't know. I think people overstate that, like, the print quality and issues. There was one point in time, I think it was when Hidden Fates came out, people were complaining that the card quality was too good and none of it was going to be worth anything because everything was going to grade high. It was hilarious. It's like, you can't win. It's like the Scarlet and Violet base. People were complaining that it was too easy to get the chase cards. It was too easy to complete the set. But in Sword and Shield, people were complaining that it's too hard to complete the set because there's too many cards. So, like, you can't win. There's always going to be extremes on both ends. Sometimes it's the same person that's complaining about both, and you're just never going to make everyone happy. JMTS 900 says, this is why I'm scared to grade my first edition basic set. For years now, I've been watching I don't know if that was an autocorrect or something. For years now, I've been watching PSA cards off eBay and saving the images, and the grading looks to be all over the place. Yeah, it is, especially in the lower grades. Jibtech says, so kinds, random question to you. Are cards we had as kids that have been through multiple generations and aren't mint, but also aren't visibly damaged, are they worth anything still? Mufasa says, dude, I swear people microscope these to look for any imperfection, and sometimes it really feels like your card might have been graded minutes after someone has a fight with the other half and your grade suffered because of it. I mean, that's the thing too. I mean, it's subjective. So the person grading it could be just that they're a stricter grader. The original poster in here is saying that, like, they grade easier. I don't know if that was like, and I'd love to know more on this. If the actual company is just like, hey guys, we're not doing so hot. We need more submissions. We need to pump up the jam here. We need to give out more good grades. I would hope that that's not actually the case, but you never know. There's a lot of shady stuff that goes on. A lot of unethical stuff that maybe they think is ethical, but is not ethical. Maybe they think it's not a big deal. But when there's money involved, it starts to get real sketchy. And even with like CGC recently, where even if you're not like grading someone's cards and doing them favors, the employees grading each other's cards, or their BFF that's gonna give them a hand job at lunchtime, then you have them doing it publicly. Or even recently with the label changes and the 9.5s going to 10s thing, where people at CGC were telling other people out either in CGC or outside of CGC that was going to happen, and then for a week they're buying up 9.5s. We got some like inside information, some like insider trading kind of stuff that maybe it flies in the cardboard world, but if it was something else, maybe not so much. So, I mean, even if you like grading, even if you're a fan of any particular grading company, if you're a fanboy, if you're doing it for the value, by all means, do what you got to do what you want to do. It's your collection. It's your money that you're sinking into this stuff. So, I mean, make smart decisions. But also at the same time, you gotta realize what it is. You gotta take it for what it is. I think a lot of the larger collectors, even if they don't necessarily talk about it, that's how they feel. They know that stuff. Maybe they don't discuss it. They don't want to get daddy PSA, BGS, CGC, AGS, whoever the hell else upset with them. I personally don't care. I have no skin here. I don't like graded cards. I will continue to crack them if it's a good financial decision, or if it's just more fun, I guess, more entertaining. But keep it all in mind. All right. The JMT saying here, yeah, there was something. Lucky for me as a child, I bought first edition cards, not many unlimited. I did not like the way those looked in comparison. They're pretty much the same. I mean, with base set, there is a color difference, and I guess you could have bought shadowless unless you just really want the stamp on there. Then some first edition jungle before getting out of collecting cards. I was old enough to not play them, and was very careful with them. Then ended up sitting in a box at my parents' house for all the years till when COVID started. I think a lot of this stuff, like, people were digging out collections because all of a sudden the media was saying Pokemon cards are worth so much money. Do you have these Pokemon top 10 cards that are valuable up the butt? Do you have this Japanese trophy card from when you were a child and you had nothing to do with Japan? Is it under your bed? If so, you could be a jillionaire. Either way, even say a first edition Zard should be graded because a PSA 1 is still $1,000 or so. Unfortunately, it will cost almost $200 to get it graded, though. Greedy ass grading companies. Yeah, they'll let on with PSA or whatever that it's for the insurance kind of reasons, or like the guarantee, the PSA guarantee, that if it's misgraded or a counterfeit card, then they can pay it out. So yeah, I don't know if it's a beat up PSA 1 first edition base card, you're probably, I don't think you necessarily have to grade it. We'd have to look at the prices, but man, I don't know. There's been people recently that are damaging cards so that they intentionally get a 1 because the 1 sells for more than like 3 or whatever the hell. It's the dumbest crap I've ever seen. Ravioli says, yes, everything has value. Nothing like a child years ago, but yes, I'd love to have a PSA 1 Zardo. And just have it put on your binder. Chili NPC is saying, is the grading done on camera? So they oftentimes they'll say they got to go back and look at the footage. It should be all done on camera, just in case someone's pocketing something, someone's bending something, or damaging something, or swapping something, or anything like that. And there should be some kind of internal system. From what I've seen or heard, there isn't a way to like log everything. It should be like all automated, that it knows exactly what submission was done at what time on what camera, and they can go in and pull it up like instantly. It should be that easy. I would even debate that, like, if they didn't have anything to hide, they should have it so you can actually watch your cards get graded. And you can see that they're spending 30 seconds on it. You can see that they didn't wash their hands when they came back from the bathroom, or from eating their mayonnaise, their bowl of mayonnaise. Oh my god, we got a freaking system restart? No, we're snooze that. Snooze. Jibtech says, think about the OnlyFans money they're missing out on. Yeah, grade it, you dirty what the hell? A PSA 10? Nuts. Alright, Beastly here says, if I slip a $20 bill in with my cards, does that guarantee me a black label? Poker Throwaway says, every now and then a person tries this and it makes me LOL. So I don't think this was directly them admitting that that they're working at BGS. I think it's more likely, as we're going to see something coming up here in the video, another one of their comments. I think they're working for CGC based on a little bit of information that they gave that they probably shouldn't have. But if I had to guess, this is a CGC employee. But this is funny. I'd like to know how many times the person keeps the $20 bill. And whether or not they actually, I guess you have to do a poll to see if they actually kept the 20, or if they turned it over, or, Guanzi says they should just grade the $20 and keep the card. Or I wouldn't be surprised if you end up with the $20 bill in with the card in the slab. We've seen like post-it notes and stuff like that, but Bass Band says, I assume you are watched by cameras to prevent the tips from working. What? He's not going to answer this because this Redditor isn't really a grader and is basically catfishing for whatever weird, pathetic reason. He doesn't know if there's cameras, so he won't answer in case an actual grader can call it out on not being true. Yeah, maybe. Flower saying this gave just enough info to sound legit, but avoids any specific, points out a few things that most people already assume to be true and ignores the rest. Without some sort of proof, I'm just going to chalk this one up to internet shenanigans. Fast Bands is saying LOL, because if there are no cameras, I was thinking those fuckers might as well take the tip and look out. I mean, maybe. Flower saying, are you unboxing packages as well as grading? I would assume that most companies have separate receiving and grading departments. I mean, receiving is not necessarily unpacking. They might just like, you're going to receive the packages at like some sort of loading dock or whatever. And then it'll get like sorted. Probably if you have to put the order number on the box itself, that'll get sorted and like sent off to individuals that open it. And I would imagine that they're going to open the box, check the contents, and grade everything within the box. Probably the easiest way to do it. How would a grader know that someone tried the old greasy palm trick? I'd love to know more about the start to finish process from unboxing to shipment. I mean, it's possible that it gets opened to verify the contents and put into another bin or something like that to get passed on to the actual grader. But I guess this kind of stuff would probably vary from like grading company to grading company. There might be little differences. A lot of it is all going to be the same process. But Red Supreme 20 says it has to be $100 and a kind note and perhaps screw in your GF. You can put like nudes of your girlfriend in with your grading submission. Historical Class 402 says for what they go for, I'd slip $300 if it meant I had a good chance, lol. Boring Preparation 400 says shit, I'll let him take my mom for some vintage black labels. Josh 198989 says sorry to hear this. Unfortunately, I was under no illusions that PSA/BGS just exploit graders by keeping their nose to the grindstone all day, every day. Grading them quicker means more money. I mainly use locally owned and operated grading companies here in Australia. Oh my god. The return, and now it's like, no, we got free range graders. It's like we're turning them into chickens now. They're free range eggs, free range slabs. The return in value isn't the same as BGS/PSA/CGC, but the quality of the casing, the customer experience, the supporting local business, the not harming the environment, but not sending cards thousands of miles to the States and back. You know it's a big-ass piece of plastic, right? That's not biodegradable or anything like that. It's probably going to get cracked by someone else to send it to one of those other companies at some point in time. Plus, Australia has one of the highest mandatory minimum wages in the world, so you know anyone involved is paid well. Jesus. We're talking about the ethics of like the people that are grading now. If you don't want to work for a grading company, just don't work there. If you have any sort of knowledge at all, you're not valuing your own time and effort enough. We'll just say that. Ethically, on the grades for friends, that is abysmal, and if you do get any hard evidence, being an anonymous whistleblower would be a very commendable thing to do. So, I mean, you don't even need to do that. We can just look at Chum Lee. Chum Lee getting the stuff graded, getting perfect grades on stuff that never got it before, right in front of everyone, publicly having it done for him as he's opening the box. What more do you need? Or the BGS dude that used to work there and all of a sudden magically was getting black labels all the time. The community should rightfully be in uproar. Well, I mean, no, they kind of moved on from it. It's completely unfair and a scam on the rest of us. I was so disappointed with BGS when they graded up Logan Paul's first edition base set Zard for that fight, having rejected the card for that grade before and it being documented online in a video. Yeah, there's that too. I forgot about that. There's another example of them doing favors for people because it's certain people and they knew it was him and they knew they would get the advertising for it. Perfect example. So, I mean, if they can't, it's okay. It's very, you got to play by the rules, but Logan does not. You got to play by the rules, but Chum Lee does not. It's anonymous. The grader don't know who you are, but if they did know who you were, then they don't see your name on the package. Are we buying any of that? Station Emergency 6053, and I'm trying to be equally tough on all of the grading companies because they've all had their scandals, they've all had their mess ups, they all do the same thing. They're all paying people not very much money and calling them experts. Again, there's not that much time and effort and expertise being spent on anything that you're submitting there. Station Emergency 6053, and maybe if it's on the upper echelon, if it's trophy cards and stuff like that, maybe they got to be a little bit more careful because those are going to be scrutinized even more. There are going to be more eyes on that stuff, but at the same time, who knows? Grades for friends happens all the time at PSA, and pretty sure it's happening at CGC too, based on that sketchy Chun Li video. Here we go, with CGC's top grader Matt Quinn hanging out at his house. PSA is notorious for it because they have so many well-established relationships with big-name collectors, both on the sports side and alternative side like Pokemon. So yeah, I'm sure like anytime there's like a walkthrough service, it kind of like makes you think like clearly they know who's bringing this stuff in. If they have partnerships or anything like that, do they go easier on this stuff? You'd have to think. XVS 650 saying I'm Australian too and looking at grading cards. When you say Australian return value isn't the same, by how much do you mean roughly? You're adding zero value essentially. I mean, if it's a card that you submit for $15, $20 and it's not worth $15 to $20, you're probably going to have a pretty hard time of getting people to pay a premium on any of that stuff. And you're not even naming the name of the company because it probably doesn't matter and it's not adding any value. Perceived value. And what's a reputable grading company in Australia? I'm in Sydney. Josh says the premium comes from PSA, BGS, CGC, and there just isn't as much attached to any companies which aren't them. I would argue that there's very little outside of like a BGS Black Label. What was a Perfect from CGC? We'll have to see what happens with the CGC stuff now that they kind of destroyed themselves with the changing everything after a few years. And kind of forcing anyone that was an actual diehard CGC grading collector to spend a ton of money to send their cards back in, ton of risks to send their cards back in to have them match with any future grades or future slabs. You can always cross grade later on if there are several you wish to sell. For OZ, the 2 TCG grading, they should return the top 2 results on Google. Both specialize in Pokemon. Found them both to be good, and card grading Australia is well known and decent, if not a little dated compared to the other 2. If you gotta Google them to figure out what they are, and whatever shows up in your search, what the hell are you doing? Stop wasting your money. Jesus, man. Tenfu, I mean, do whatever you want with your money, but if you think that you're adding any value to your cards when it's like a company that I've never even heard of, whether I'm in Australia or not, it's not a good sign. Tenfug saying, where's the best place to send cards for grading in Australia? Was considering getting some down, but I'm in the same boat. I didn't want to send them away that far. Legendary Assassin says, what's the rarest card you've graded? Poke Throwaway is saying, not graded, but I've held a Pikachu Illustrator in my hand once. So, I don't know if you guys watched the recent CGC stuff, but if they recently started grading, I can't imagine that most people last very long being a grader for one of these companies. We got CGC that recently had that Illustrator, and we had they were finger banging it on stream in their little Q&A where they ignored everyone and answered their own questions. So I'm going to say that this is my guess is CGC. Again, I'm going to be looking at the comment section to see what you guys think. This is my smoking gun, my reason for thinking that it's a CGC grader. But you guys let me know. I would assume that it's one of the big 3 because they're kind of letting on that they're one of the big 3. And I know people are going to debate. They're like, oh, no, CGC is not the big 3. They destroyed themselves. They're not in there anymore. They changed their crap and screwed everyone over. Mr. Miller 1996 says, all foolishness aside, that's pretty dope. I know you probably feel different, but to some it's still pretty awesome that you get to come across some of these cards and do what you do. All the best to you, and thanks for making this hobby a bit more fun for some of us. So, like, you think it's fun? Maybe it'd be fun on the first day, the first week. It isn't. I'm telling you right now, this would, to me personally, after doing this for 8 hours a day, I would not even want to look at cardboard after that. Like this would suck the fun out of any of that. It's not like you're like, oh yeah, I get to see some cool cards, like slide an Illustrator across my desk while I beat off to some hentai all day. This is not it. It's the same with people that are like, holy moly, you're a streamer. He gets to play video games all day. You could do that too. I mean, you gotta put. There's a lot more into it. There's a lot more than just like, oh, it's cool. We get to see fun, awesome cards all day. This has got to be a fun job. No, when you're looking at them for 30 seconds, you're sticking them in plastic. You got someone down your back, up your butt about how you messed up on a few in the previous submission. You put the card in there upside down. They're supposed to have some kind of secondary check or third check or something like that never happens. So you're getting the blame for it because you're the one that left the post-it note on there. You're the one that didn't see the dick drawn on the cat. You're the one that it's you. It's your fault. You're going to get shit on for it. Your manager is going to say, what the hell are you doing? You need to go faster and you need to do it better. Striking Party 1352. I mean, it's the same with any redundant, crappy job like this. It's the same thing. Do it faster, do it better, or else. you're going to get a talking to. I'm going to bring you into my office. We're going to look at the dick cat together. I'm going to tell you, what the hell are you doing? Do you want to keep your job? And you're going to say, no, not really. Striking Party 1352 says, this illustrates that your high value cards are possibly in everybody's hands at the grading facility, increase the chance of damaging it. If a Pikachu illustrator was thrown around, your base set Charizards are gold stars, etc. Poke Throwaway says, cards don't really get thrown around like that, and it was sleeved. So it was just sleeved? Or are we talking about like the case? I mean, guys, can we talk for a second about the ridiculousness that is, people are going to get their cards graded, then they're going to get the little rubber doobobs that go around them for extra protection. They're going to sleeve it. They're going to put another case around the case. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Unless you're PK throwing it off the roof. And even then, he had to do it countless times before it actually cracked enough that, or it got a good enough shot that he could crack it and pretend that it broke open. RCM90 says, seen a picture of a food crumb inside someone's slab. How does that happen? They allow people to eat at workstation when handling valuable collectibles. I'm also wondering about centering. Is it actually measured or is it by eye? I mean, maybe they snuck, it was like contraband. They snuck in the donut or something like that, and the crumbs were falling. Up. I mean, maybe during the pandemic too, like, I don't, would they be a little bit more lax? It's like, you got to keep grading. You can't have your lunch break. You can work through your lunch break. And you're going to have to eat your crumbly donuts while you're grading cards. Again, one of those things where if they check the actual slabs, if they did the quality control, quality assurance steps that they all claim to do, that wouldn't happen. Also, when resubmitting a card for cross-grading, is it true they just say screw it and keep the same grade or lower? Or will they actually crack the slab? Does the time of day actually matter when it comes to a grade? Example, end of day, screw this, I don't care about this card, it's a 9. I mean, we've seen that with like certain submissions where someone gets them back and they're all the same grade, so it's probably just the same person. They're just like, oh, what grade can I like give everything that it's not going to be suspicious? I mean, when it's every single card in the submission that gets that same grade, it's an 8 or whatever, then it starts to be like, yeah, this person was just hitting the same button, the safe button, maybe like the 8 button, and then the person that receives it. I mean, you should at least mix it up a little bit. Like, the gallery says, I don't know about food crumb, but I definitely had a piece of lint or something in a PSA 10 Leafeon I got back from them. Got some lint hair in my PSA 10 Umbreon. Yeah, they see this every now and then. You get a nice little encapsulated food and or random lint or hair. It's kind of gross. Some pubes. I think we saw some pubes one time. Sun Goku 1256 says, I've always felt grading was a scam when you crack a slab multiple times and resubmit to get a different grade each time. The opinion means as much to me as looks good, bro. I've seen a beaten up Charizard get a 9, altered / fake first edition cards get graded, a shining Charizard come back a 7, then a 4, then a 9, or a rare DBZ card that only one was to exist. Someone found a leaked copy of. Grading companies said it's legit, yet the devs themselves said nope, and we won't tell you what's wrong on it, otherwise they'd fix it and have legit looking ones. Don't know what that last part meant, but we're going through it. Grading companies during COVID were getting so many submissions, they were hiring in kids that were younger than the cards they were grading and had no clue. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you're either hiring kids or criminals, or most people are not going to like an entry-level position to spend 8 hours a day to make very little money. You're not going to get professionals. You're not going to get people that have experience. You're not going to have people that were collecting these their entire lives, because most of those people have figured out that if they wanted to do something within collectibles, whatever collectibles that they would be grading, there's better ways to make money doing so. They could have built or established themselves as a store. No, I'm not saying like brick and mortar, because that is a very difficult thing that most people don't want to take on. But in terms of like their own personal selling and stuff like that, chances are by the time they're an expert, they've been buying and selling enough stuff that they probably have the option to go that route. Even if they're doing it like part-time to begin with, they probably have done it enough now that they'd rather be doing that. Personally, I'd rather be packing like eBay orders or something like that than than grading someone else's cards and not getting paid very much money. They aren't paying the employees enough to even afford getting into the hobby they are considered experts of. So morale at times is an obvious meh from some. The shit I've seen get a pass. At the end of the day, it's business and they want repeat customers. Obviously, they'll want to keep their customers happy, so they keep getting business. Hearing they do favors for friends, giving them better grades doesn't surprise me at all. You're also paying top dollar to have your item evaluated, only for them to spend 1 minute on it and make a subjective opinion on it from a brief glance. Hopefully more collectors realize it's a scam and to start to determine the value and condition themselves instead of going off a number by a random. True. I mean, even if you want to buy it in the graded slab, you got to know what you're looking at. You got to know whether it's fake or real. It's not a free pass to not do any of the work or know any of the things that you're buying, especially when it gets into the expensive stuff. Fakes have been graded. Fake stamps have been graded. Cards have been misgraded. You got to know what you're looking at. You got to know. Break your teeth now, especially when you're spending a ton of money. I tell that to everyone. Just like seeking out someone's advice on what to buy, on what is a good deal, what is what. If you're not going to put the time and resources into it, it's different if you just like, oh, I want to buy some of this awesome stuff that I had as a kid, one and done. But if you plan on spending time in it and constantly doing it, you got to do your research. You got to learn your stuff so that you're doing what you should. It's very forgiving as long as you don't make really egregious mistakes. But you do have to spend the time to learn what you're looking at, what you're doing. You need to watch videos like this. There's tons of information out there. It's all available. You need to join the Discord if you have any questions, stuff like that. Everyone has to start somewhere, but yeah. Break Your Teeth Now says, please do an AMA for those who have questions wanting inside scoop of the industry. This is like a Vice investigation, and you tell us the secret undergoings of grading employees, the lavish parties with drugs and exports, the hotel rooms trashed. Tell us everything. All right, Throwaway is saying, I really don't know how much I can answer while still keeping my paycheck. This isn't exactly a huge industry, and depending on what I'd say, it would be easy to figure out who I was within the company, but I'd love to talk more the day I inevitably get fired or move on. Break Your Teeth Now says, understood. What if we kept it very generic and general? I was just curious what the day-to-day looks like. Things like how many cards does one grader grade in a day? Is there performance bonus for the faster graders or more accurate graders? I mean, this is probably going to vary per company as well. Nothing explicit, and ignore the questions which are not comfortable with. Poke Throwaway saying, no performance bonuses, but there are target goals to hit. The best way to describe a work day is just imagine a mix between a monotonous office environment and an assembly line at a factory. Thank you for taking the time to do this. I can definitely picture that. Do you still have passion for collecting cards since you see and handle the best every day? Throwaway saying, I love to collect, but I simply cannot afford it due to the abysmal wages. Looking at these cards that are in the hundreds or thousands every day, but knowing you can't participate makes you a very cynical person. Arky is saying, man, you should just look for a job more suited for you because this sounds awful. Feel bad just reading this stuff. That's the thing too. I mean, spend some time. Maybe like start something on the side, buying and selling. Hard to do so with a wage that's that small. All right, how far in are we here? Let's get the throwaway responses here to finish this off. Flowers919 saying, you do realize this is simply an anonymous person making these claims, right? While I do believe the issues being brought up might be true to a degree, there is zero proof anything stated by OP is legit. Throwaway saying, how am I supposed to prove it without revealing which grading service I work for and potentially revealing my identity? Genuinely asking because there are people suggesting I'm karma farming on a throwaway account, which is just a lamau. Yeah, people do a lot of weird stuff. I wouldn't be like totally surprised if this wasn't real, but I think this gives us a good starting point and a good way to reach out to anyone that actually works there and would like to speak with me. I would love to have you on the channel and get some inside scoops, and we'll do our best to make sure that they don't understand or don't know, don't recognize you based on the information that you're giving. Poke Throwaway saying, love and agree with this. Oh wait, what do we got? Blurp, derp, skirp. Here's a good way to finish it off here. It says, always buy the card and not the grade when buying slabs. Thank you, Blurp. Awesome advice. Good job. 10 out of 10 advice. And always ask for good close-ups so you know you're not buying a weak 9, etc. Some sellers are really cool about being upfront with card-specific details, but the majority are not. Yeah, and you can look at the scans, and that's like one of the, I guess, the main arguments for why you would buy the graded card over just the raw card. If you really like the card and you're not buying the label, if you're not buying the card to flex because you get a 10 or a black label or whatever, just buy the raw card. If it's for your own personal enjoyment, you can always grade it later if you're really missing the value on it. You can buy it later or grade it later. If you're not sure on the graded card company and whether they're going to be around in the long term, again, remember, there's a lot of them. They all popped up in 2021. How many of them are going to stick around when the money isn't free tendies to the max? All right, last response here from Throwaway, who says, love and agree with this. Use your own judgment to determine the quality of a card, not a number on a piece of paper. Personally, I will never buy most cards unless I can see it in person. There you go. Perfect advice from somebody that is probably working for one of these grading companies. If you lasted this long, thank you very much. Holy crap, we're an hour in. All right, yeah, we'll call it there. I think this is an important little topic. I'm going to get the angry people in the comments. They're down there. They didn't watch this far in. They're saying, Rattle, you don't even grade cards. You don't know what you're talking about. And to that, I say, suck it. I've cracked more cards than your mother has slept with men after your father. So fuck you. Thanks for tuning in. Join the Discord. Love you guys. Bye.